Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to look at the last Scars of Mirrodin deck, which is Relic Breaker, which is red and green. So yeah, probably you know what to expect here, red-green aggro, which is fine. Let's dive in to start looking at. The foil face rare of the deck is Horde-Smelter Dragon. So 4 and 2 red for a 5/5 flyer. Has ability 3 and a red, destroy target artifact, and it gets +X +0 till end turn, where X is the artifact's mana value. So kind of like we've seen like on previous trips to Mirrodin with like red-green or any decks involving red really is this kind of these abilities that interact with destroying artifacts, which is fine. That's obviously what red does a lot. I think it's implemented slightly better here in Scars of Mirrodin. This is like a really fun rare, honestly. I mean, I think baseline 6 mana for a 5/5 flyer is fine. But then to have this repeatable artifact destruction ability, which, at 4 mana, it doesn't require tapping, so you can do it multiple times. It also acts as a as a buff to its power, so that's pretty good. Obviously, there would be a bunch of artifacts. If you were playing these decks all against each other, would not be short on targets on this. So yeah, I think this is honestly a pretty fun rare to have as the foil face rare. Yeah, I like it. And then we have 2 Barrage Ogres, 3 and 2 red for a 3/3. Tap, sacrifice an artifact, does 2 damage to target creature or player. Yes, this is fine. I think I would prefer this ability on a smaller creature, because you're doing the tap, sacrifice an artifact. It's doing 2 damage, but then I guess you're not attacking with a 3/3. I guess, but it's fine to have the option, I suppose. And the fact there's no cost associated with it, it's just tap. There's no other mana cost. So yeah, I think this is again like perfectly fine. Maybe a little boring, but I think it's okay. Like 2 damage is all right. Especially because there's a few artifacts in the deck as well. So if it's something that's gonna be destroyed anyway, then sure. And then 2 Flameborn Hellions, 5 and a red for a 5/4 with haste, attacks every turn if able. So nothing to do with artifacts, just a big, just a big creature. You just drop it down, immediately swing with it. Yeah, I think it's all right as a common, like it's decent size. Yeah, sure. 2 Ox to Scrap Melters, so 3 and a red for a 3/3 when it enters the battlefield, destroy an artifact. So this is pretty good. It's essentially Hill Giant with an upside. I say we're playing Scars of Mirrodin block. There's going to be a bunch of artifacts around, so this is usually going to have a target. It isn't optional, so if you cast it and you're the only one with artifacts, you do have to destroy one of your own. But yeah, I mean, most of the time I think that's not going to be an issue. So yeah, I think it's, again, like pretty solid card, honestly. 2 Volshock Heartstokers, 2 in a red for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2 +0 turn 10. Again, this is, I think, a perfectly fine little common. Yeah, just 3 mana for a 2/2 is kind of like not great, but giving something else +2 +0 is fine, I suppose. Because what you could drop something turn 2, this turn 3, and then swing with the boosted creature you dropped on turn 2. I suppose you could do that. This is all right. It's not too exciting, but it's all right. Feels very like core set to me for some reason. I'm not sure it ever got printed in a core set, or there must be something with this ability in a core set. Anyway. And then a single Acid Web Spider, 3 and 2 green for a 3/5 with reach. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target equipment. So this is okay. Obviously it would be better if it was destroying any artifact, but destroying equipment, I guess, is fine. Obviously makes it more niche as an ability. It is May, so it is optional. If you're the only one with equipment, you don't have to do it. This is okay, I think. It's just fine. And then 2 Molder Beasts, 4 and a green for a 5/3 with Trample. Whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, it gets +2 +0 turn 10. This is pretty fun. It feels more red, this ability. Because if it's green, normally we'd assume it gets a toughness boost as well, but it's fine just getting the power boost. The fact it's got trample built in is nice. So I mean, without that trigger going off, it's just a 5 mana 5/3 trample, which is okay. But yeah, if you get multiple artifacts destroyed in turn, which you might very well do, you've got a bunch of things that can destroy artifacts. And we've got the 2 replicas here that sacrifice. This could get pretty big and do quite a lot. Leave quite a mark for just being a common. So yeah, I think this is perfectly fine. A lot of this deck is perfectly fine, if I'm honest. It's just kind of there, you know? It's not really doing anything to jump out at me, honestly. Then 2 Silvok replicas, 3 mana for a 1/3, 1 green, sacrifice it, destroy an artifact or enchantment. This is a pretty good replica. You know, it's going to have a ton of targets in Mirrodin block, because obviously there's a bunch of artifacts flying around. The fact you can also hit enchantments is pretty good. Yeah, I like this. I like the fact that it's naturalized on a stick, and also being 1/3 makes it sort of an okay blocker as well. I think it's all right. And then 3 Volshock replicas, 3 mana for a 3/1, 1 and a red, sacrifice it, does 3 damage to target player. So this is nice as well. You can attack with it, and if it's ever going to be blocked, something you can just sack it and just bolt the player. Yeah, I think this is fine, and also it's sacrificing triggers like Molder Beast, and yeah, I think it's okay. And then 2 Copper Mer, 2 Iron Mer. So these are just here, just standard mana Mer to help you like ramp up and stuff quicker, and then it's stuff you can sacrifice later. To Horde-Smelter Dragon, I guess. When you don't need them anymore, they're all right. They're fine. And then from M11 we've got a Cudgel Troll and a Prodigal Pyromancer. Again, like both these are absolutely fine. It's just kind of red-green aggro, isn't it? It's Cudgel Troll is good. I do like the fact it's fairly decently sized for its cost. 4/3/4, and has a single mana regeneration, which I'm always a sucker for. So yeah, I like Cudgel Troll. And Prodigal Pyromancer is like, I feel like we've seen so much recently. But again, absolutely fine. He's just here just to ping away at things. Yeah, fine. Especially in these decks where a lot of them would be, say if you were playing these decks against each other, a lot of them have like the mana mer, so being able to pick them off is okay. So then we have a series of burns. So we've got 2 Arc Trails. So 1 in a red sorcery, does 2 damage to target creature or player and 1 damage to another target creature or player. So this is quite nice. The fact it can be a 2-for-1. Kill off sort of 2 creatures, or hit an opponent and kill a small creature. Yeah, this is, I think, perfectly fine at 2 mana. Yeah. Single Fireball, classic X spell, got one of those. Yeah, it's okay. And a turn to Slag. This is a little expensive, I think. So 3 and 2 red. Does 5 damage to a creature, and you destroy all equipment attached to that creature. So when this goes well, this goes really well to kill off. To kill off a creature and all the equipment that's on it. If an opponent's like loaded up a creature with all this equipment. The kind of like the risk there is that sometimes if it's equipment that increases toughness. Oh no, actually no, because you destroy all the equipment, so the damage will still stay on it. So turn to Slag is all right. Turn to Slag is okay. Maybe a little bit expensive, and I would prefer it to be an instant, obviously. But I think for a common, this is fine. I think at 5 mana. So yeah, I think it's all right. 2 Shatters, so just 1 in a red, destroy an artifact. Really kind of underpowered, but like it makes sense in Mirrodin, like because back in Shadowmoor Eventide we had Smash to Smithereens, which is just better Shatter because it does exactly what Shatter does and something else. But I don't think you could have that in a block which has got so many artifacts, because then it'd be kind of pushed. So I do understand why Shatter has been reprinted in Mirrodin, because like it's more appropriate for the the meta essentially. But this is fine. It's just to destroy an artifact, fine. 2 Untamed Might. So it's like a green X spell. It's like Giant Growth but X. Target creature gets +X/+X on turn. This is okay. Normally I find like just normal Giant Growth is just a lot more efficient, because that's just single green for +3/+3, whereas for this you've got to sink at least 4 mana into it to get exactly that effect. Obviously it scales a bit better. Sometimes obviously you need more than +3/+3. So this is it's okay. It's okay, but not amazing. And then a single Viridian Revel, 1 and 2 green for an enchantment. Whenever an artifact is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, you may draw a card. This is okay as well. If you're destroying a bunch of artifacts, you can draw a bunch of cards. Yeah, this is fine. Kind of ties in what the deck wants to do, which is destroying artifacts, which is what red, green, and Mirrodin always likes doing, I suppose. Then we've got a single Barbed Battle Gear. So 3 colours for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/-1. You've got quite a few big chunky creatures in here, so the toughness drop doesn't really matter. The +4 power is obviously pretty huge. It equips for fairly cheap. So yeah, this is pretty good. I think, in this deck with all your red-green fatties. A single Horizon Spellbomb, 1 colour, so you can pay 2, tap, sacrifice it, set your label for a basic land, reveal it, put it into hand, then shuffle. And when Horizon Spellbomb is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you can pay green if you do draw a card. So yeah, this is okay, helps you like ramp up, I suppose, and if you've got the spare green, you get to draw a card, which is fine. And also this helps Molder Beast. And Panic Spellbomb, 1 colourless, just tap, sacrifice it, target creature can't block this turn, and when it's put into a graveyard from battlefield, you can pay red, and if you do, draw a card. So yeah, both of these Spellbombs are fine. Yeah, they're just kind of fine. And the other rare of the deck is Asceticism. I think that's how you pronounce it. So 3 and 2 green enchantment. Basically turns all your creatures into Troll Ascetic from original Mirrodin. Gives everything hexproof, and you can pay 1 and a green to regenerate target creature. Like, it's a fine card, but it just, it feels a bit random to have it in here. Obviously, it makes all your big creatures, well, all your creatures, honestly, makes it harder for your opponent to deal with them, because then they all have hexproof and they all have regeneration. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like this could have been a card that was more on theme, I guess. But it's still like it's still a pretty good card to turn everything into Thrun. Yeah, and then we have 12 forests and 12 mountains. So yeah. So what could have been? So I think there's some potential better picks we could have had here. So I would have liked to see Trigon of Rage. So this is like the red associated Trigon. You remove counters to give something +3/+0 to enter, which is what you want to do, I suppose, in a red-green aggro deck. Liquid Metal Coating. I think there should have been at least one of these in here, because you have so many effects that care about destroying artifacts. So if your opponent's not playing artifacts, you're not getting the effect out of it. Whereas Liquid Metal Coating, it's an artifact where you can turn permanents into artifacts until end of turn, which then you can use your Horde-Smelter Dragon to destroy them. You've got the Oxidus Scrap Melter, you've got Shatters, you've got like all these effects that care about destroying artifacts. So a way to turn non-artifacts into artifacts, I think, would have been so good in this deck. This, I feel, is like the biggest missed opportunity not to have this in the deck. Just to kind of teach, I suppose, if a new player picks up, just to teach a new player like this kind of combo, this kind of interaction. And like, you definitely could have made room for this. Like, there's definitely another uncommon. You could have like dropped, I don't know, like Prodigal Pyromancer for this, and it would have been fine. But yeah, definitely should have had Liquid Metal Coating, in my opinion. And then I thought it was an alternate rare instead of Asceticism, which is like, again, fine. I thought Engulfing Slagworm, because it's a big green creature and complements the big red creature. And yeah, we're playing red-green aggro, big fatty creatures. So yeah, have the Slagworm, I suppose. It's 5 and 2 green for a 7/7. Whenever it blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, you just destroy it, and then you gain life equal to the toughness. So it just eats them, just absolutely eats them. It's amazing. So yeah, it's just a big. I just feel like it's a perfect rare for like a kind of a kitchen table game. Whereas Asceticism is fine, I say, but like I think I would have preferred like a big creature. So in summary, so this one is obviously, I think, like the most boring of the Scars of Mirrodin packs, just because it's not really doing anything like that is that interesting. Like, I kind of said this like with the green and red, the red-green decks back in original Mirrodin, is that this could be like from any block. There's nothing really that makes it jump out as being like Mirrodin as such. It's just red-green aggro, I suppose, with the artifact destruction theme. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it's obviously not as like all the other decks have like proliferate or like poison or metalcraft or focus on the Myr and stuff. And yeah, this one is just kind of compared to the other four, this one is just I find it very boring. Honestly, it's okay. I'm sure it would play okay out of the pack. Because it's still like, I don't think there's like bad card choices in here. It's just not as interesting when compared to the other Scars and Mirrodin packs. But if you were the sort of player that like, oh man, like all these Mirrodin cards, I hate artifacts and I hate Phyrexia poison stuff, I just want a nice simple red-green aggro deck, I think this one would be absolutely fine. But I say, just lackluster compared to the other four. But those are my thoughts after looking at the deck. If you've got any thoughts, stories, comments, opinions about this deck, then please stick a comment below. Always like reading those. But we're now done with Scars of Mirrodin. We're going to move on to Mirrodin Besieged in the next video. So we'll pick up that in the next video. But until then, thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.